I want to talk about the evolution of when you started to wake up, because one of the things that really impressed me about you is, one, in your website on antipornography.org, there's an article about you, and you talked about knowing how the pornography was hurting other people, and I want to get back to that in a minute, but the was just kind of you realized that you weren't in any way, shape, or form respecting your body. And when you think about some of the things you did, can you help us understand that evolution for you to get to a place now where you're just kicking ass, taking names, super fit, doing your thing? When did you realize I'm done?
Well, it was progressing. Like, my roommate and I, who she actually quit too, we had talked about it several times, and then the syphilis outbreak happened, which was kind of a red flag for the both of us, because the performer that transmitted it was a veteran performer. He had been in the industry for over 8 years, and so for him to get it and then, work with other performers and do that, it was a red flag. So I started to really think about it at that time. And then what really did it for me was when I was actually hanging out with another veteran male performer. I had hung out with him several other times, not on camera. We were just hanging out. And you know what he did to me that night, I wasn't expecting, but in a weird way, I'm kind of thankful for it, because I woke up. Basically, when I got there, he looked angry. He was like, "You're late," and then he just slapped me. And I fell. My ears were ringing because he slapped me so hard. And then everything happened so quickly after that. Like, I was so, in a daze. Like, he started banging my head on the floor, and then my face started bleeding. And then, what else? He kept beating me, basically. God, it's hard for me to talk about it in detail. And then he choked me out twice to the point of passing out. And when I would ask him to slow down or stop, or "Oh, I don't think this is cool," he'd be like, "Oh, you're fine, babe." And there was even a time where he was fucking me from behind, making me look at myself in the mirror with blood all over my face. He whispered to me, he was like, "So you think you're pretty, huh?" And then he spit on his hand and then put the spit all over my face and continued to fuck me like that. And then he put my head inside of his toilet, which I will admit I was okay with him doing that at the time. But then every time I tried to come up for air, he would not allow me to come up for air. So everything that happened that night really was to the extreme. I thought I was going to die, honestly. So when I drove home that night, it was it was 4 in the morning. And I just kept thinking to myself, what the heck? Why am I hanging out with these type of people? Why am I putting myself in this type of environment? These performers, these directors, people in this industry, even if they look successful on the outside and they're famous or whatever, they have a lot of issues, and I need to get the heck out. This is not going to be my destiny. I actually want to do good things for the world, and I do not want to be here anymore. So that was what did it for me.
Wow. I mean, that's and of course you're not naming names, but this was a veteran adult actor that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Wow. So that that was it, right? So when did you finally, when your last scene, you're done trying to figure out what you want to do with your life? What was the next? Kind of walk me through you escaping this life and really embracing your body. You know, and one of the things too, Jessica, when I talk to guys, they're chronically masturbating, they have no respect for their sexuality, and you can look at it. Doesn't have to be from a religious perspective. It doesn't have to be even from a moral one. But your sexuality is such an important part of who we are, and respecting your body in a strong, powerful, mature way is so important. And these guys aren't respecting their bodies. They're not respecting their sexuality. And over time, you came to kind of worship that temple. And I know you're a crazy fitness buff now. How did you end up here from there? What keep going?
It was a process. I had to go to Brazil for a month because I have family that lives there. So I had to go there to clear my head, you know, and really reevaluate and look inside of myself and see, you know, what I'm doing. And how it's not only affecting me, it's affecting society. And I had to really look inside of myself and tell myself that I had to stop being selfish, because I was doing porn, you know, to make money. I was only thinking about money. And I had to learn to respect myself as well. So when I went to Brazil, there was another factor. My dad has a lot of issues. He does not work. He lives with his mom. When he lived in the United States, he didn't work either. It was always my mom. He actually stole money from my mom before. He's never supported us financially or, you know, anything. He's actually asked me for money. You know, he's never given me money. And so I just wanted to go visit him and you really get that closure, because the last time I had seen him, I was like 10 years old. So it had been like about 9 years since I'd seen him. And when I went there, it was, you know, the same thing. Like, he would just sit around all day. He took like four or five types of medications for like bipolar disorder, depression, and stuff like that. And he also drank. So one of the things that went through my head when I was there was, I don't want to end up like that. So that really, really helped me when I came back to the U.S. say, I am not going to end up being a depressed person or a lazy person that doesn't take care of herself. And not only that, like, just going to a type of country like that really shifted my perspective. Even though I was born in Brazil and I lived there till 6 years old, I pretty much grew up in the United States. And I saw how privileged everyone that lives here is. And people need to understand that you can make money in so many different ways. You do not have to turn to porn. Like, there's so many opportunities here, whether it's educational opportunities, financial opportunities, anything, where I realized that I'm just lucky to be here. So that was like the next step. And then after I quit, I was still drinking a little bit after I quit. That was actually the hardest thing for me to stop, was the drinking thing. But I did eventually stop, and I moved to Arizona from Los Angeles so the whole change thing could be a lot easier for me. Because when I was here, I was still hanging out with porn stars and stuff like that. And, you know, they all have their issues, and they would try to drag me down with them and try to get me to go to parties and drink and stuff like that. And I was dead set on changing myself. So I said, I gotta go. I have to go somewhere else. So I lived with my boyfriend for a while. And it was really easy for me to change over there because I didn't know anyone there except for my boyfriend. And that's really when I started getting into the whole healthy eating thing, really valuing my body, exercising, getting enough sleep, meditating, having a spiritual life, always thinking positively, not allowing negative images or negative thoughts to come inside my head. And yeah, that's basically.
Well, I'm glad you picked up meditation and mindfulness because, as I'm sure you now know, it is one of the most effective tools out there to increase your sense of well-being, to reduce compulsive behavior, to deal with the thoughts, particularly for someone who has been traumatized. So I'm so happy to hear that.